Last night when we were talking, I got to thinking that I think in a lot of ways, sales is the dirty job of a lot of businesses.
Sure.
You know, people don't like salespeople. They have a bad reputation. It's kind of scummy. People like marketing. Marketing's sort of branding and imaging, and that's fun. But selling, where you got to get in front of a customer and handle objections and ask for that order. So I kind of think sales is the dirty job of business.
Well, that's where the actual work is.
Right.
That's the wet work.
Right, exactly. And we talked about that a little bit last night. So tell me about QVC, because you and I had, well, the reason, no, this is great. You guys should really seriously watch his QVC. The reason I hired you to come here, I read how you pitched the pencil. And I said, this is a dude I got to have on my stage, you know, from that, because I think that you're a poet warrior in the sense of how you tell stories and how you communicate, and you are a pitch man of a different kind, but you're still in sales. So talk a little bit about that.
Did you just call me a poet warrior?
I think so.
That's awesome. I love, no, you know what, I mean, really, those kinds of big epic juxtapositions. I love that there's a play called The Curious Savage. It's the same kind of thing, right? You know, combining, you know, heads and tails, two sides of the same coin and all that. For me, in the first steady gig I ever had in television was hawking things on the graveyard shift at the QVC cable shopping channel. And that happened in 1989. I was actually singing. I was singing in the opera, in the Baltimore Opera, and I heard about this audition. We were in the middle of a production, actually, of something called Der Ring des Nibelungen, which is a Wagnerian dirge. I can't dissuade you from seeing strongly enough. But there was an intermission in the middle of this thing, and then I didn't have to be on stage for like another hour after the intermission. So I had an hour and 20 minutes to kill, so I walked over to the Mount Royal Tavern, dressed as a Viking, to watch the back half of the football game.
It's subtle.
I mean, I literally walk across, I mean, I am dressed as a Viking. I walk into the bar, and my friend Rick gets me a beer, and I look up, but the game's not on. He's watching a big guy in a shiny suit sell pots and pans. And I said, what the hell is this? And he goes, well, this is this home shopping thing. This is 1989, right? He says, they're in town and they're having an open audition tomorrow, and I'm going to go down and, you know, audition for that guy's job. He was a fellow actor, this bartender. And so I sat there and I looked at it, and we started to talk about what was clearly the end of Western civilization, you know. But then I realized, I said, you know what, I bet I could do that. And he said, I bet you can't. And I said, I got 100 says I can get a call back. So the next morning, I go down to the Stouffer Hotel in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore to audition as a show host for QVC. And I think the story you're talking about, that #2 Ticonderoga pencil, I walked into the conference room, and a guy named John Eastman had a camera pointed at me, and the camera's over his shoulder, and I'm sitting right in front of it like this, and he says, the audition is very simple. I'm going to hand you a pencil. I want you to talk about the pencil. I want you to make me want the pencil. I want you to leave me with the categorical certainty that this pencil is the most important thing on planet Earth. Do not stop talking about the pencil until I tell you to. And that was the thing. And he pulled a pencil behind his ear, rolled it across the table, and I picked it up, and I started talking about it. The interesting thing, looking back on all that, is it was such a hard job to recruit for, because who do you hire? You know, you hire a TV guy who doesn't know anything about sales. You hire a sales guy who doesn't know anything about TV. It was a weird mix of skills that were required, but the fundamental skill was just kind of bullshit, right? I mean, can you talk about a pencil for 8 minutes? As it turns out, I could.
So tell me, how did you study? Did you just pick it up? I mean, like you and I were talking last night, and I can't help but think that there has been some study. You're
Well, I mean, When I was in college, I paid for it by selling magazines over the phone for a company called Dial America Marketing. This was another one of those jobs you realize, oh, crap, I'm not bad at this. I mean, but I was deeply concerned for my immortal soul, you know. I'm calling you during dinner on behalf of Big Brothers and Big Sisters and trying to talk you into taking 6 months of Time magazine.
See, I was selling 6 months of frozen meat.
The meat?
Yeah.
With the freezers.
Exactly.
You sell the meat, then you sell the freezers.
And I was calling it dinner time, yep.
It's tough, right? And I also...
And I wasn't bad at it.
It's really one of the most chilling lessons to realize you're good at something you hate or you're bad at something you love, you know? It's like what we always say on Dirty Jobs, you know, just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you can't suck at it. And the world's full of that too,
right?
You know, but so Dial America Marketing led to a gig at Computerland. You guys might remember Computerland, right? Oh my God, they're clapping for Computerland. In the history of, what are they called now? System Source or something like that. I was negotiating service contracts at the same time I was singing in the opera for Computerland. I didn't know anything about computers, but man, I understood the drama of what happens when a thing you rely upon breaks. Mm-hmm. So the IBM PC, the XT, the AT, the Bernoulli box. Remember the iOmega Bernoulli box? The Epson printers? Like all this old, it's cluttered in the useless part of my brain. You know, the same part of my brain that told me to duck that I ignored. It's called a callback, yeah. So, but, you know, negotiating service contracts, selling magazines, the thing I took from that was useful was a feature benefit approach to life. Mm-hmm. So in sales, anyway, for me, you know, if somebody hands you a pencil, you can say it's a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil, and then you're done, and then you never get hired to work on QVC, which could be a blessing. Or you say it's yellow. That's the feature. The benefit is why? Why is it yellow? Because your desk drawers are cluttered, and when you open your drawer and look down, you need to locate that pencil with all due speed. You're a busy person. You don't have time to rifle through your drawer. You want that canary yellow to pop, and you want to bring out that pencil and fill out your purchase order and get on with your life. That's why it's yellow. Why is it number 2? I'll tell you why. Because number 3 is too damn hard, and number 1 is too damn soft.
Right.
You want a number 2? My whole career turned out to be based on number 2. I want a number 2 pencil, right? You ever notice the eraser at the end of the pencil? Of course it's there, but why is it as long and as thick as it is? I'll tell you why. Study after study indicates a person who maximizes his potential, his pencil to its fullest potential, after sharpening it and using it, that eraser is designed to last exactly as long as the lead in the pencil. It's not a mistake.
Scientific.
And I'll tell you something else, Red. It's not lead. It's graphite from Madagascar. Why? Because Madagascar graphite, time after time again, proves to be longer lasting. And if you tend to lick the end of your pencil, as some people do for reasons I can't entirely explain, the graphite won't kill you. The lead will. So I'm selling this thing. Right? And I go on for 4 minutes, and he's not stopping me. So then I started to think not in terms of features and benefits in the corporal realm, but what really has a pencil done for Western civilization? Well, I'll tell you something. Albert Einstein came up with the theory of relativity. You know what he wrote it down with? Pencil. Imagine a world where we don't understand the implications of E and MC squared. Imagine if he didn't have that pencil handy when the moment of inspiration watched over him. Maybe he would have forgotten, and maybe now we wouldn't be able to talk about time travel and all that cool crap. I don't know, but I'll tell you something else about the pencil. The first love note I ever wrote to Heather Klebe in the 8th grade, number 2, Ticonderoga.
All right.
She responded to me. So in the end, it's never about the pencil. It's always about the thing you can do with the thing you're talking about. So you go through your features and your benefits, and then you talk about what that pencil means to the macro world from the micro guy. And then you're talking about your love notes. And then you get hired.